Just a week ago, the coronavirus pandemic still dominated the news cycle. Then coverage of the protests and violence took over. And some wonder if that's prompted us to let down our guard against COVID-19. Local physician Katie Jarvis is the CEO of Bed Beacon. She says there is a connection of sorts between the pandemic and the ongoing push for social justice.
Yes. Well, I think the protests are centered around feeling like there's a senseless loss of life and an unnecessary loss of life for somebody who's Black. And I see that coronavirus does that too. It's not a fair virus. It actually kills 2.4 times more people for the number of Black people than it does white people. So it's definitely a biased virus. It does the same thing for Latinos. It kills more people per population base of Latinos than it does white people. So the very fight that they're fighting to have, equality of an ability to live is something that makes coronavirus even more relevant because of what coronavirus does.
As we see these daily protests, it's obvious that there are a lot of those protesters who are not wearing the protective masks and so on. How much does that concern you?
Well, that really concerns me because we know that being in close contact with another person and not wearing a mask allows the disease to spread more easily. I also know that Black and Hispanic population have a higher prevalence of the underlying diseases that make them more likely to die from coronavirus. So there's more diabetes and more asthma in the African American population than there is in the white population. And that simply makes them more likely, if they do get the disease, to really suffer from it or die.
Even before the protests started, there was already concern about the potential for a second wave. When it comes to the general population, do you think these events and a lot of people not wearing the masks and so on, does that make it even more likely we could be threatened by a second wave of COVID-19?
Well, I think so, because I think it allows for the virus to stay in our population a little bit longer. I'm glad that this is the summertime, so it's hot outside and the heat seems to impact this virus. But I do worry that people in close contact without masks, without washing hands, really does spread the virus. We know that from each country that has been studied, and we know that from the social distancing practice that was done in the United States really did slow down this virus. So we've seen it ourselves.